Hello, welcome to Inside Politics Talk Show. I'm Anastasia Lavrina. The 29th UN Climate Change Conference, COP29, will take place in Baku, Azerbaijan from 11 to 22nd November. Expectations are high for concrete action plans, financial commitments to support developing nations, and strategies to ensure a just transition that addresses equity and access. As global leaders gather, the focus will be on innovative solutions, collaborations, and accountability in the collective fight against climate change. More on this issue, we will talk with the expert joining me now from Greece, Kostis Giropoulos, Director of Energy, Climate Policy and Security at Any Global Media. Warm welcome to our program.
Anastasia, nice to see you.
Thank you so much. So, is the energy transition a realistic objective for COP29, or do we need more actionable commitments than just discussions?
Well, obviously you need more action, but talks are also important, and that's the COP29 provides an excellent opportunity for world leaders, but also for the private sector and also different organizations to meet in Baku and discuss a year later after COP28 all the existing to take this forward, and also there's new opportunities for energy transition. Especially now we're seeing how, for example, the role of AI in energy transition, which is going to be key. And it wasn't discussed as much last year, as well as the role of finance and investment.
Right. Many economies still heavily depend on fossil fuels. What do you think is the most effective way to persuade governments and corporations to expedite their transition away from these energy sources?
Well, it has to be a just energy transition, but also you have to have energy security, which is also very important. Azerbaijan is a major hydrocarbon producer traditionally. It still continues to export a great deal of gas through the South Gas Corridor, and also as well as oil. But it also wants to drive forward the green transition. We've seen, for example, the green corridor that's going to go underneath the Black Sea to Romania and then probably Central Europe. And during COP29, it's expected to have the results from the first studies and about visibility regarding the feasibility of the project, as well as talk with several of the players who are going to be there.
Energy transition can cost a lot. What do the countries need to do with existing fossil fuels infrastructure? Should it be dismantled, repurposed, or left in place?
Well, gas is going to be a transition fuel, so gas will remain for a long time. But at the same time, all the new pipelines are designed with the energy transition and green fuels in the future. So, for example, all those pipelines can be converted into transporting green hydrogen. So I know that, for example, that this is going to be discussed during COP29. So the new infrastructure is designed with an eye also for possible energy transition. Also, we've seen that, for example, oil rigs can be used to install wind turbines, when they're using the same technology that you're using when you're establishing, when you're drilling for oil and gas, but only you can use the same facilities to later on install offshore wind farms. You can also power. We've seen, for example, in your country, with the Alat Economic Zone and the port of Baku, I visited them recently. They're going to gradually convert them into green ports, which is already certified, but all the ports in the region are going to be certified. So they're going to become eventually a green transition corridor. The middle corridor, which is going to be a transport from Asia all the way to Europe, is going to be, not only transporting green energy, but also using sustainable forms of transport. On the 15th and the 16th of November, I believe, there's going to be a focus on Central Asian energy transition. So the leaders from Central Asia are going to meet in Baku, and that's also going to be very key in discussing sustainability and also issues of environment, because we've seen that the level of the Caspian Sea has fallen 1 meter. And right now, Caspian Sea is very central to the livelihoods of all the littoral states in the area. And it's going to create also problems with transport. I mean, if 1 meter falls, okay, there's not going to be a big problem with the port of Baku, but second meter falls or third meter, then they can drench it a little more. But in the future, it's going to be a problem of the livelihood and also the sustainability of the region.
Financing, it's one of the key questions to be addressed during the forthcoming conference. So how can COP29 effectively address the disparities in financial capacities between, let's say, African and European states to ensure equitable climate financing for the energy transition?
Well, that's why the private sector is also going to play a major role, but there's also has to be financing for loss and damage, and also there are, like you mentioned, parts of Africa, for example, and countries like that in that region cannot sustain an energy transition. So countries which have more, use more energy, but also have more financial possibilities, have to step in that respect in the private sector, because ultimately they're mostly responsible for the CO2 emissions. Africa has an enormous potential for green energy, but it actually doesn't contribute that much, for example, into CO2 emissions. So going back, it has to be, and in the discussion I've had with African leaders and in the region also, is that it has to be a just energy transition. And it's always a compromise. That's never a never a COP ends up on time. Usually it's like horse trading until the last minute. Let's hope that by the conclusion of COP29, there will be some agreement, and there's going to be more than we had in COP28, and that all those issues will be able to finance and finding solutions for sustainable energy. But all those factors have to start figuring energy security. What do you do with existing infrastructure? Last year at COP28, there was again in the United Arab Emirates. I mean, it's a major producer of hydrocarbons. Azerbaijan, the same. And people believe, and I believe also that, despite the criticism that it has to be coming from the major producers, the change has come from them first as well. So it takes, a major producer to be able to also address those issues and bring together the world nations to discuss it further.
Talking about COP29, we should definitely remember the Paris Agreement. How efficient has the Paris Agreement been in driving global climate action and influencing national energy policies since its inception? And how can COP29 enhance the efficiency of the Paris Agreement in driving meaningful climate action and strengthening national energy policies?
Well, the Paris Agreement has provided a very essential blueprint of the goals that need to be reached, and also a framework of the direction that the world is moving forward. There's no question now that climate change is real, and there's also they need to have an energy transition and sustainability. We've had a lot of roadblocks on the way. Also we had COVID, we had financial crisis, but I think that now, from COP28 and this year also, I think that and especially also, as I mentioned earlier, with the involvement of the AI in the energy transition, new sustainability solutions, all this will help more achieve the CO2 emission goals that were set up with during the Paris Agreement. Also, there's no recipe for all the countries. Countries are different stages of development. Like you mentioned earlier, they have different financial opportunities. You can't have one fit-all solution for this. So that's why in COP29 it provides this opportunity in Azerbaijan to have all those countries to discuss these issues.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you. As we conclude our program, it's clear that the path forward green transition requires collaboration, innovation, and commitment. COP29 presents a crucial opportunity for the countries to not only assess the effectiveness of the Paris Agreement, but also to enhance it through actionable commitments and equitable climate financing. You watched the Inside Politics talk show. Stay with us and see you in the next edition.